comes through, and if they're in their car, and their car is connected by Bluetooth to the phone, then it comes through very loudly through their system. Wow. Wow. Okay, so I turned my phone off. Or maybe I just set it on vibrate, but it's way back there. Last week we talked about finding the good or finding God. And we talked about the fact that we can do that, and we can, most of us can, train ourselves when we are thinking in terms and we notice that those thoughts are just negative, 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 and we can't find the good in anything. We need to remind ourselves who we are, what we're made of, and that we can change our thoughts. It's been said that there's only love or fear. How do you feel about that? I remember the first time I heard that many, many, many years ago, and I thought, well, there's a whole lot of other stuff out there, isn't there, love or fear? But what it really comes down to is the people who said that meant that fear encompasses a whole lot of things, and that includes worry, regret. And if you really think about it, all of those things do come back to fear of something, don't they? Fear of not being enough. I've noticed most of the characteristics and behaviors that we would change in others, they really stem from a lack of self-awareness and self-caring, self-respect, don't they? When you really get down to it, that's what it really is. I had some quotes that I wanted to use this morning. It is the law of the Spirit that we must be that which we would draw to us. If we would draw to us love, we must be love, be loving and kind. If we would have peace and harmony in our environment, we must establish it within ourselves. That was Charles Fillmore. And if you'll remember when we've talked about the 12 powers, and if he were alive today, remember he wrote that 100 years ago, he would change that some because consciousness has changed and a lot of our ways of understanding and awareness has changed a lot in 100 years. And he would have rewritten some of those too. And I sometimes think there's one power out there, and it's love. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But first, the way Charles Fillmore did describe that was love that was a radiating power that brought us, and he described it in a little bit different way than they do the law of attraction. It will bring us to what we desire. Instead of bringing it to us, it will bring us to that. And I like that too. However that works, it works for me. And I could sort of sum all of this talking up in a sentence for you. And that is, I could stand up here every Sunday and I could say, and I don't care what kind of problem you bring to me, okay? I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't care. I could say this one thing, and I think it would handle everything. Align yourself with love. Okay? Pretend you're in a rowboat and you're going down a stream. That's the divine flow. You want to align yourself with that divine flow, and your good will come. The answer will come. Your prosperity will come. If you're praying for the right person, the right relationship will come. And then in the end, you might find out that your good was really to develop yourself so that you didn't need another person in your life. Sometimes that happens too. So what we pray for is when we align ourselves with love, we might also think, God, help me to create the best with my life and be happy with whatever it is. Whatever that is. God, help me to create that. And I will be at peace with it. Because sometimes it looks a little different than we thought, so we always need to be open-minded. But if we're really praying for the best, for the highest good, just for, joy. Joy. That's what we all want, isn't it? Joy and peace of heart and mind. We want a little joy. Today I remember that I am immersed in love. I feel love as a stream of light, bringing peace and joy to every area of my life, healing every condition and bringing harmony to my experience. Like that, huh? I remember that I am immersed in love. That's Ernest Holmes. Ernest Holmes was the founder of what used to be religious science or science of mind, and they are now the Centers for Spiritual Living. Didn't they choose a nice name? They and Unity are merging more and more. As a matter of fact, I know several centers that may have one name and they'll have a Unity minister, or they're coming together more and more because they basically teach the same thing. Ernest Holmes was a generation or two after Charles Fillmore, and some of his writings are easier to get through, I find. But anyway, I loved that. Today I remember that I am immersed in love. I feel love as a stream of light. And that's what I basically said a few minutes ago. I'm going to align myself with love because love is God. Love is light. There's one power and one presence in the universe. And that's love. Okay? And that's what we're talking about today. So when I was a teenager, I was a member of a group called Rainbow Girls. Anybody ever heard of Rainbow Girls? Have you? And I was a member of Rainbow Girls, I don't know, at least 3 years. I can't really remember now. I didn't think about it enough. Maybe 4 years I worked my way up to be the worthy advisor. And I've thought about some of the things I learned there, and I love it. It's part of the Masonic organization, and it was established, of course, to be a place for young women to have fellowship and to teach them about some religion, but just especially about doing good in the world, is what I remember. And it's where I learned a lot about the rainbow, because we had a beautiful room that was something like this, and you have a stage, and then you have a shape of a red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And each one meant something. And so for a term, which was usually about a half a year, I believe, a girl would be assigned that particular position, and it meant something. And then as you're working your way up, maybe to become the worthy advisor, okay? You go through a few stations. There's faith and love, hope, faith, love. One other one, I'll remember it in a minute. Maybe, seems like there were 4. Peace, of course, peace. And as you went through those stages, you were required to memorize a paragraph and you would say this, every meeting, this would be repeated. And it was a lovely meeting, really. And at the meeting, then you'd have just somebody would talk a little bit about whatever the subject was that night. And then there were certainly a lot of women that were also there, the adults. I really learned a lot through that organization, and I learned a lot about each one of those attributes. But I remember thinking about the rainbow and all those colors, and I would think about myself, and I'd think, what color am I? Do you see other people in colors? So I'll think of myself sometimes as the colors that I mentioned a little bit ago. I'll think of rose, a little bit of gold, and maybe a little blue mixed in, or I love those colors and they mean love to me. But I know if you're studying the 12 powers, they had assigned the color green, I think, to the heart chakra and love. But I like the color Clarissa has on today. That's beautiful. I like that. I couldn't have chosen a better color for love today, that pretty rose color. But the rainbow, let's think about that for a moment. The colors of the rainbow. It speaks of diversity and what a beautiful earth we live on. How all the different colors represent the people, and the different people all across the earth. And that's what all of those colors represent. And you have to remember that arc is not all of the rainbow. You know that, right? Because it's a circle. And the reason you're not seeing the whole thing is that by the time it gets down to the earth, it goes either over the horizon or down in the water or, beyond the earth. So you don't see. Every once in a while, you'll get to see the fullness of the rainbow. But it just, it reminds me more and more of the different people that are on the earth and how we need to love each other. We are one. We are one. And when someone has a that you might criticize or you don't like, that's the person you really need to pray for, okay? And I hope you will remember that as you go out this week. If there is a person that is particularly and their behavior, pray for them. Pray for them. Hold them in your heart and pray that they will see who they are. They will see their colors. Were you all here a few weeks ago when the musicians performed True Colors? Who was here? Oh my goodness. If you didn't hear that, I would like for you to, I'll post it again on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, let me know. I'll send it to you the link to you by email. If there was any more perfect song, I don't know what it would be. Shelby chose it. She's Sherry's daughter. And the two of them singing harmony together with those angelic voices. And Charles and... It was just perfection. It was so beautiful. If that didn't touch your heart, I don't know what would. I wanted to read some of the lyrics this morning, though. That song was written by Steinberg and Kelly. And Steinberg, when he wrote it, he was thinking of his mother. And all the different ways. As a matter of fact, he finally changed some of the lyrics because it said something about your makeup kit, the real you and your makeup kit, because his mother was very active and always dressing up and going out in the world and pretending this and pretending that and being someone that was not the real her. And he knew that. And so he wrote that song for her. And the melody is just as touching too, isn't it? He said, "You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to find courage. In a world full of people, you can lose sight of it all. And the darkness inside you makes you feel so small. But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. Don't be afraid to let them show. Your true colors are beautiful, like a rainbow. Show me a smile then, don't be unhappy. Can't remember when I last saw you smiling and laughing. If the world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can, you call me up and you know I'll be there. 'Cause I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. Don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. Your true colors. It's beautiful like a rainbow. So when this speaks of true colors, what's it speaking of to you? Who's the real you? How did we learn to pretend when we were growing up? Were we so self-conscious that we felt like we weren't as good as other people? We may have been. A lot of poor people, or people that grew up in a poor family, very poor family, have a really hard time getting over that. They don't ever feel that they're as good as other people. So self-awareness, working on yourself, you cannot be aligned with love, with truth, with light, if you are not first loving yourself. You have to love yourself. Maybe you think there's some way you weren't perfect. Maybe you were shorter than you wanted, taller than you wanted. Maybe there was some other thing in your life that you felt like was wrong or different, made you different. But you're just perfect the way you are. Absolutely perfect. And I see the real you shining through, and it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I see each of your colors right now, like an aura, shining through, and you're perfect. Just exactly the way you are. Perfect. I would love to have had a singing voice like my daughters. I call Shelby my daughter too. She's my granddaughter, but I treat her like a daughter. I would love to have had a singing voice like them, but I don't. And at one time in my own life, when I was born right at the middle of a century, right as close to the middle of the century as you could get. And I remember wondering why. I did remember. I would think about that sometimes. You see, I have a birthday in September too. Also, it's a 9-month and a 2-7, another 9, and it just happens to be the 270th day of the year, my birthday. And I always wondered about that, and I always thought about that, and I wondered, is that a coincidence? Is that strange? And I wondered about being, that was 1949, so the mid-century was right around the corner. And I remember thinking about that and thinking, isn't that an interesting time to be born? Isn't that an interesting time to be born? And so my midlife came right at the turn of the century, you see, and I feel blessed by that, okay? I'm not saying I'm anything special, trust me. The reason I even mentioned that is because I'm just telling you that it helped me discover the gifts that I had because I didn't think I had any. And so at midlife, when I gave up the corporate world, I couldn't stand that anymore, I'll guarantee you. Actually, when I was 45, I couldn't stand it a minute longer. And those last few months when I decided I wasn't doing that anymore, I marked off the days on the calendar. I sure did. Didn't know what I was going to do, and I remember being extremely frustrated for a while and even crying a few tears over it. God, I feel you wanting me to do something, but I don't know what. It was a stressful time. Change is not easy. It's not easy. I just remember wondering, what do you want me to do? This is a lot of coincidence, and there's a lot of change going on here. But by the year 2000, I knew what that was, and I was already immersed in my ministerial studies. I was also studying to get a degree in earth literacy, learning about the earth with the Catholic sisters. I did that. That was very important to me, and I couldn't decide why. Also, my granddaughter was born that year, and so it was just huge. Mid-century, or the 2000 was huge. And so I see that I could bring all that wisdom of all those years of learning with me. Maybe I could share my love and light and all the learning that I had done with the world, and I still didn't know where and I didn't know how, but that came easily once I knew what the path was and I knew what to do. And I do know that these youngsters that have been born after 2000, they're different. Folks, they're just different. They don't stress over all the things we did. They don't worry. They don't have a whole lot of regret. They don't say, oh, what's so-and-so going to think about this or that or the other. They don't do that. It's done deal. They are, right? Jan, they were born different, and I can tell you that. I don't know, we'd have to look back at the different years, but I'm not a numerologist, and I'm certainly not an astrologer, but I do see sometimes the coincidences. Of course I was born a Libra. I was born to bring as much love into my life as I possibly could this lifetime. Of course I was. I couldn't have been anything else. So with the guys this morning, I talked about Charles Fillmore, Ernest Holmes. They had a bit of frustration just like Jesus did. Jesus wasn't always calm. He overturned the tables, didn't he, in the temple? And his frustration was, I'm going to shake you because I want you to get it. When are you going to get it? And even with his own disciples, I'm going to shake you till you get it. When are you going to get it? And I know Charles Fillmore even had some conversations with some of his friends who were affirming. When are you going to get it? That just, saying those words isn't going to get it for you. Ernest Holmes, the same thing. You're going to get it when you get it right here and you feel it, okay? That's when it's going to come. I'm going to feel that relationship changing. I'm going to feel it right here. I'm going to pray it into being. There's one power and one presence in the universe, and that's love. And if you don't get anything else I said this morning except that, align yourself with love, Align yourself with love. The answers will come. You'll know what is yours to do and what is not yours to do. You will be self-empowered, and you'll have better boundaries for those who don't have any and would step all over yours. Yes, there are some of those out there, and they can help us grow stronger too, because we can lovingly say no. I'm sorry, my husband said he was going to tattoo that on a friend's hand. Not my problem. And no. And then when she wanted to answer somebody, all she had to do was hold up her fist like this. And so we must be self-empowered, because some do not have good boundaries, and you can't let them trample all over yours. Because if you don't love yourself and have self-respect and take care of yourself, you can't love others. So I'm just going to say that's all I was going to say this morning. Act from your heart. Align yourself with the good.